and let us all do we can to build a better future.
You know, we've been covering a lot of news here at Heartlands Media. From 2017 up until now, we've seen a lot of key players come and go, but never in my life did I ever think I would witness firsthand a non-elected official dictating terms of policy over elected officials. I thought the United States was this great big bastion of liberty and freedom. Let this be a keynote to everyone. I'm pretty sure a lot of people right now remember this. Think of the last time you ever heard the name or title Senate Parliamentarian. I never heard that during the Trump administration, or even during the Obama administration, or even during the Bush administration. And if so, they were mentioned very rarely. But now, all of a sudden, the Senate Parliamentarian can do this. The Senate Parliamentarian can hold the sun in the sky. The Senate Parliamentarian can split the seas. And now we just found out that the Senate Parliamentarian has just shut down immigration reform. That's in a $3.5 trillion budget package. We don't have a democracy. This is a clown show. This is a Saturday morning, a cheap Saturday morning cartoon show that we are living in. So first, there's actually a tweet, I believe, from Sarcasm Stardust. I would like to pull that tweet up first real quick. I just want to acknowledge just what she wrote. First, they are deeply disappointed, and these are screenshots from different Democratic leaders. First screenshot is from Senator Dick. How you doing, Dick? Durbin. I'm deeply disappointed in the parliamentarians' decision tonight, but the fight for immigration reform will continue. Senate Democrats have prepared an alternative proposal for the parliamentarians' consideration in the coming days. What does it matter? Guess who can overrule the Senate parliamentarian, Dick? The President of the United States, Dick. The Vice President of the United States, Dick. The Senate parliamentarian is a non-elected official, not the goddamn King of England. By the way, again, Elizabeth McDonough is the Senate parliamentarian. That's her name, Elizabeth McDonough. So there we go, just so everyone knows. Here's something from Chucky Boy Schumer, who says, "We are deeply disappointed in this decision, but the fight to provide lawful status for immigrants in budget reconciliation continues. We will continue fighting to pursue the best path forward to grant them the ability to obtain lawful status." Yeah, Chucky Boy. Yeah, you're deeply disappointed. You do realize you outranked the Senate parliamentarian, right, buddy boy? And again, Senator Alex Padilla says, deeply disappointed in the Senate parliamentarian's decision today, but the fight for immigration reform will continue, blah, 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 blah. The hell is this? Again, vote blue no matter who, cul-de-sac progressives, everyone in corporate media, the blue checkmark people. Did you really think that people were going to forget this? I remember during the 2020 election how everyone was saying that Biden was going to return the soul back to the country and he's going to get things done. He can't get anything done. He can't get anything past a non-elected official. And again, just a quick reminder, the President of the United States and Vice President, oh yeah, that's right, Vice President Kamala Harris can overrule the Senate parliamentarian. So let's pull up this video from Case Study QB. We got two videos. Corporate media is there just with their thumbs up their butt trying to figure out, oh, what happens next. But hey, Hardlands Media and so many other independent media networks have been saying this for a long time, that the Democrats are incapable of getting anything done. Biden himself said nothing's going to fundamentally change. And going into the 2022 midterm election cycle should tell you this. The Democrats are going to be smacked around, and let's say they manage to get a slim majority in the House and Senate, potentially. However this midterm election cycle will play out, it will be pathetic. And be prepared to be bombarded with propaganda about, oh, how we got to vote for Democrats. Let's play this video from Case Study QB.
Democrats turning to their plans B and C in hopes of passing immigration reform after the Senate parliamentarian shot down Plan A. The ruling makes it clear the pathway to citizenship cannot be included as part of the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill. Joining us now, CNN's Lauren Fox on Capitol Hill and CNN's Arlette Saenz is with the president, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Lauren, I want to get to immigration in a second. The Senate parliamentarian said it can't be part of this budget bill, and that's a huge setback for the administration. But first, I just want to talk about everything that's happening up there, nothing of which seems to be going in the direction that the Biden administration and Democratic leadership wants. I mean, Axios is reporting, Lauren, that Joe Manchin now says he wants to wait till 2022 to pass the budget plan, which I know for Democrats might seem like never. So is there a plan to get this done?
Well, look, Jim, I think that this is a critical
Can we pause it for a second right there?
I think one of the
I want to remind everyone right now, I hope you all heard it. Senator Joe Manchin just came off with a big win. He can get away with whatever he wants. And now, because of the decision that the Senate Parliamentarian has done, he, of course, being who he is, Senator or Prince Joe Manchin or President Joe Manchin, can now dictate when they're going to pass the budget. And going into 2022, there might not be enough Democratic votes. And then there's the Democrats with the thumbs up their butts saying, we wish we could have done something. And then, of course, you're going to have your cul-de-sac progressives or those YouTube channels that are so tied to the Democratic Party or just us Democrats. We're going to say, no, everyone must vote blue. Everyone must vote progressives because the Democrats will lead the way. And if you don't vote for the Democrats, you're a bad person. This is happening under a Democratic presidential administration. The Senate Parliamentarian, who's a non-elected official, just gave an opening for Manchin to use. And mind you, I want to remind everyone that I guess Bernie Sanders theoretically can use his political power too, but he's being a wimp. I regret any kind word that I ever said to Bernie because right now, if the Democrats or the progressive Democrats, including those 15 congressmen and women who are on the forced to vote petition, if they don't step up right now, they'll never, ever fight for us. That means challenging Chucky Boy Schumer, Ice Cream Nancy Pelosi, and senile Joe Biden, and yes, Kamala Harris herself. Because right now what we're witnessing is that the Democrats are accepting this. They can say they're disappointed. Yeah. I think we're all tired of being disappointed by the political parties. But my God, Democrats, I didn't know you'd be this pathetic. Let's play the rest of that video.
Look, Jim, I think that this is a critical week, John, and I think one of the things to keep in mind up here on Capitol Hill is that Democrats are going to come back into town today. They're going to have some meetings together, and hopefully, at least from Democratic leaders' perspective, they're going to be able to find a path forward. But there are really two moving parts here. The first piece of this is that infrastructure bill that the Senate already passed, and we are still waiting for the House of Representatives to pass. The deadline for that given by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is September 27th. That is a key date that she agreed with moderates would be the time that she would bring that bill to the floor. But meanwhile, progressives are arguing that they are not going to vote for that proposal unless the larger economic package, that $3.5 trillion package, is actually finished and ready for a vote as well. They're worried about that more moderate bill, that infrastructure bill, going first. And so that's really what Democrats are struggling with right now. How do you move this forward when you have moderates in the Senate like Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin who have argued behind closed doors and publicly that $3.5 trillion is too high of a price tag? And that's before you get into big differences over tax policy, over what's included in the bill. Those are still issues that need to be worked out. And right now, with just a couple of days until that September 27th deadline, it's not clear that's going to be figured out, John.
Arlette, obviously immigration reform is something that this White House and Democrats wanted in there. I'm not sure everyone was expecting.
Okay, so before we pull up the second video from Case Study QB, I want to just point out a couple of things. Good job on the pundits for being who they are. They're pundits. But let's talk about the Democrats because, again, key word. Going into 2022, the GOP has a lot of political ammunition that they could use against the Democratic establishment. And of course, the Democratic establishment being the Washington Generals. And I mean no disrespect to the Washington Generals, because at least the Washington Generals, they're supposed to lose to the Harlem Globetrotters. The Democrats, theoretically, are correct on all the issues, but they lack the spine. In fact, they never had the spine to fight for us in the first place. It was Senator Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema who did that little curtsy who got rid of the $15 minimum wage. It was the progressive Democrats, especially during the time for forced to vote, those 15 congressmen and women who chose not to fight for us, also chose not to fight for that $15 minimum wage increase as well. You see, the Democrats have been going into failure after failure. They never once were going to challenge Biden because they defeated the oh-so-scary boogeyman Trump. And from all the reports that we're seeing, potentially Trump's going to run again in 2024. So here's the thing. The midterms, it's going to be a back and forth between Team Red and Team Blue. And if you're a diehard Red Republican Red or diehard Democratic Blue, I'm sorry to tell you this, but, you will never have a seat at the table. And you're fooling yourself if you think you will. So here's my suggestion. We got to support ballot initiatives. We got to look at third parties. And this goes to a direct challenge to third parties, to the Greens, to Move for People's Party, to the Libertarian Party, and to all of the other independent parties that are out there. Start building your political infrastructure now. Start getting your message out there now. Start actually fighting. You see, Heartland's Media, we do support third parties. And yes, we will interview third-party candidates to be on our show. But if you're not going to build the infrastructure or even fight back, I don't know what else there is. But we got to look at something different, because the fact that the Democrats, especially the progressive Democrats, have let the moderates and this administration walk all over them. What was the whole idea of pushing Biden to the left? If they're not going to fight for immigration reform, again, but again, hold on, wait, I got to stop myself there. They didn't fight for anything at all. We didn't get a goddamn thing. Let's pull up this next video from Case Study QB. Again, be sure to follow him on Twitter. Twitter is censoring him, even though he is uploading corporate media. But again, should remind everyone that corporate media is a bunch of BS anyways. They're just reactors. Let's play the rest of this video.
To get through reconciliation, but still just another huge speed bump or thing that has blown up to an extent in the Biden administration's face. Is there a new strategy that they have to get all this through?
Well, John, the White House is aware they're entering another critical stretch when it comes to this massive economic proposal. And White House advisors say that they're really going to lean into and dive and dial up their case when it comes to talking about help for the middle class. Their arguments is that this should be viewed through the lens that this plan would help the middle class over the wealthy and corporations, along with lowering costs when it comes to prescription drugs, the cost of education, elderly care as well. And so this is something that we're expecting advisors to really push over the course of this next week, as there are so many issues relating to this massive economic plan that still need to be ironed out. You heard Lauren talk about some of those setbacks that they've seen when it comes to immigration. The White House said that they were deeply disappointed in that ruling from the Senate Parliamentarian, but that they believe their people in the Senate will be working to try to present some other options to the parliamentarian. So the White House isn't quite giving up on immigration reform.
Can we pause it right here? Sorry. I got to give a shout out to one of our viewers. Shout out to you, Joel Bolsek. I saw your live stream chat, and I just want to read his little message here. Again, it's funny how this is the first administration I can remember being stopped by this parliamentarian, and I followed politics since Reagan. Yeah, me too, buddy. I haven't been following politics since Reagan, but this is the first time I ever heard the power of this Senate parliamentarian. Let's play the rest of that video if we can, just so that we can all really see what kind of BS Saturday morning cartoon we are living in.
Yet, but this also comes as the president is about to turn his public focus to his diplomatic agenda. He will be traveling to New York City a bit later today, tomorrow, delivering his first speech at the United Nations General Assembly, and he's going to be meeting with leaders, world leaders, throughout the course of the week. But so much of his public focus, at least, is going to be on that foreign policy, diplomatic ticket items. But this White House is also aware that they need to make a strong push as they are hoping that he can get his economic agenda across the finish line. As you've heard, some setbacks when it comes to policy and also those intra-party divisions among Democrats. Of course, the president had hosted Senator Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema at the White House this week. We will see if there will be any other further meetings with some of those Democrats who've been on the fence.
It's hard to see signs of progress with Sinema or Manchin as far as the White House is concerned based on what we're hearing this morning. But we will see over the next few days. Let's Signs, Lauren Fox, thank you both very much.
You see, okay, let's look at the Senate parliamentarian. Again, this person, Elizabeth McDonough, who is the Senate parliamentarian, can be overruled by President Joe Biden and can also be overruled by Vice President Kamala Harris. But yet the Biden-Harris administration is choosing to let this parliamentarian dictate terms. The United States senators, such as Senator Dick Durbin, or Senate Majority Leaders Chucky Boy Schumer, Bernie Sanders, they're letting this parliamentarian walk all over them. The House Representatives, especially under the leadership of Speaker of the House Ice Cream Nancy Pelosi, is letting this parliamentarian walk all over them. And at the same time, too, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are dictating terms of how everything's going to be done. You know what this tells me? How weak the Biden administration is. Compared to the Trump administration, I can't think of a single time the Senate parliamentarian stood up and stopped any of Trump's policies. I guess the Biden-Harris administration is weaker than the Trump administration when it comes down to fighting for what they promised during their election cycle. And I know, look, Trump, I didn't want him to become president in 2016. I didn't want to see him get reelected. But my goodness, and when it comes down to weakness, when it comes down to showing your political strengths, the Biden-Harris administration has absolutely zero. They never followed through with any of their promises. They kept on lying. So Tell me vote blue no matter who, or K-Hive, or cul-de-sac progressives of larger YouTube channels that constantly carry water for the just us Democrats. How are you going to win in the midterm election cycle? What are you going to use? Because so far, the presidents and vice president are only listening to Senator Manchin, Senator Sinema, and this non-elected official, the Senate Parliamentarian. Now, we all know what the GOP is. We all know the Republicans, they're never going to vote for anything that's going to help out the working class in this country. But the Democrats are the ones that are stalling this. And it's a Democrat, Joe Manchin himself, that's leading it. So the vice president and president can't get anything done. They will never follow through with anything. And it's going to be a miracle if this $3.5 trillion budget is passed before we get into the midterm election cycle. But I want to quote my colleague Daniel Lupker, who said this, that if the Democrats fail to get this passed, it will be a clear defeat for them in the midterms and quite potentially in the 2024 presidential election cycle. It's downright depressing and sickening that's come to this. And this should convince all of you to never again be browbeaten or be bullied on social media to vote for the Democratic Party when not once have they fought for us, not once have they stuck their necks out for us, and not once have they ever followed through with any of their promises. It's all a game of politics, but yet when millions of Americans are at risk of being kicked from their homes, when Americans are losing their jobs, when we have a refugee crisis at the border, the kids are still in cages, climate change is a real threat, you can't have hope in the Democratic Party because they just won't fight. So don't vote Republican, don't vote Democrat, vote outside the political system. And we have to start looking at doing a general strike. Shout out to Fred Hampton leftists that are actually talking about laying down the infrastructure for a continuous general strike. It needs to happen now.